Where does the summer go? It seems like only yesterday I was planting everything out, full of wide-eyed wonder at the season to come. And what a summer it's been, with record high temperatures and almost record low rainfall. Challenging, certainly. Rewarding nonetheless, absolutely. So let me show you round my garden as we stand on the cusp of autumn. Come on. With all the warm weather we've been getting, it's been an absolutely stonking year for tomatoes. They've grown and kept on fruiting with little input from me. Usually by this time of year they'd be really clobbered back by blight, but so far with all the dryness they've actually escaped all of that. It's been important to keep the airflow here by picking off the lower leaves, and these marigolds have helped. There's been no pests either. In fact, there's so much fruit on these tomatoes that one of them is actually toppled over under the weight over there. And in the greenhouse, the tomatoes have been on steroids. I've grown a few types, but new to me is this sort of almost black one here called Black Opal. Really sweet and delicious. I've had so many tomatoes, I don't know what to do with them all. So I think next year I'm going to grow more sort of paste or plum type tomatoes to make more sauces. These three little guys here have been super productive as well. And I've been doing a little experiment planting sardines, bananas, and this one as a control to see if there's any difference. It's the topic of next week's video, so do tune in for that. While we're here, these chili peppers are absolutely going for it. I'm going to have so many to dry and turn into chili flakes and so on. Yum. It's not all been plain sailing, and these tomatoes here have had blossom end rot, and I've really tried to get on top of this with more regular feeding and watering. I think it's down to the soil that I filled it up with. It's a very kind of woody material, this sort of municipal compost with lots of barky bits in it. And I think that the tomatoes needed something a bit more substantial. So that's a learning for next year. In any growing season, there are always going to be winners and losers. And for me, this year has been a bit of a catastrophe for my sweet corn. It was all growing so well, but then some wild beast came along and trampled all over it, trashing my crop, barreling through and eating what little corn there was. It had a few plants initially, and I thought I got away with it, and then it came back for the rest before I got my harvest. Now I think it's either a badger, but I think more likely it's a deer. And I heard deer barking around in the undergrowth over there only this morning. And what a noise they make. So I cleared up all of my corn, I put down plenty of fresh compost and a little bit of bloodfish and bone meal, and I planted my winter broccoli. These are purple sprouting broccoli, really attractive plants once they get going. And you'll notice in these clips that I'm showing you now that I'm wearing my new Crocs. Regular viewers will know that my last Crocs eventually gave up the ghost and fell to pieces, and you'll see in these clips that I'm wearing my new Crocs. It's nice to have my feet fully covered again. Welcome to the garden, Crocs. Down here at the bottom of the garden though, it's another matter altogether. This is my two sisters' bed, so I've got corn and then squash running beneath it, and it's really thrived. It does get a bit of sunshine, but it's quite shaded for some of the day by all these trees and shrubs around it. But nevertheless, with a summer of wall-to-wall sunshine, these guys have absolutely raced away. Now let me show you these beautiful Uchiki Kuri squash down here. Here's one of the fruits here, and just look at its beautifully rich orange colour. It's a stunner, isn't it? Now this isn't the biggest fruit in the world, but I know when I cut into it, it's going to be so vibrant. A true celebration of autumn after the long, sultry summer we've had. Now the ground is damp at last after some good rain showers, so I'm going to just pop it onto a cushion here of netting just to raise it up off the ground so it doesn't rot and can continue to finish swelling. I can't even begin to describe how dry it has been this spring and summer. It's amongst the driest years ever here, but something really strange has happened. The drier it got, the wetter this whole corner of the garden got. And I thought, well, there must be a burst pipe or something. I called the water board in to investigate, and they said, no, it must be a spring. Now the road just up there, literally behind us, is called Spring Street. So there's a clue in the name here. So I've got this lovely spring, but that does come with its advantages. Look here, this is my celery. Now celery is actually originally a bog plant and loves it really, really moist. I haven't watered this whole area at all over this dry summer. And look, I've got some of the most vibrant, healthy celery ever. I'll have to find some way of harvesting this free source of lovely natural water somehow to irrigate the rest of the garden. Meanwhile, the salad bed here has really been thriving on it. It's been great though for all sorts of birds and amphibians like toads and frogs, which love the long grass here and peck around in the wood chips here on the hunt for morsels and titbits. Now, have you noticed that anything that produces fruits, berries, currants or nuts has gone absolutely bananas this year? It's what's called a mast year, these natural years where you get an explosion of fruitfulness. Case in point are these cooking apples here. So just look at this tree, absolutely loaded with fruits. And I've got crab apples and dessert apples as well, all absolutely loaded. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all, but I'm going to do my best because these cost a small fortune in the shops. I need to make sure that I enjoy the last of these blackberries, perhaps teaming them up with those apples to make a lovely crumble. There's so many here that they're beginning to rot on the plant. Even the birds can't keep up with them. This was the record year for my currant patch here. It's really well established. Now I got loads and loads of currants and I made my own black currant cordial. And I tell you what, this is absolutely lovely with a bit of sparkling water. Next year, I promise that I'll show you how to make it, but it's a great way of using them up. The patio here is absolutely scattered with these little fruits here. Now this is a tree called the Cornelian cherry and they're very tart when they're underripe, but they come away beautifully now. They taste exactly like plums, but there's so many of them here. I'm not entirely sure what to do with them. They are edible, obviously, but if you've got any ideas, let me know in the comments. Something I've been trying for the first time this year is growing strawberries in a tower. Now these were bought as bare root plants. They were really rather scrawny things and only 2.5 months ago. Would you believe it? They produced leaves, flowered and then lots of these fruits in just that time. It's been quite astonishing and I'll be doing a full video on how I got to this stage next spring. So do make sure you're subscribed and have turned on notifications to watch it. I'm often accused of taking up more and more of the garden. I do try and limit the spread of my veg. Honestly, I do. And this area here is relatively new. Now, last year it was used to grow pumpkins and squash. And this year I've extended it ever so slightly to grow things like brassicas and summer staples like zucchini or courgette and these rather impressive beans here. Now, these are runner beans or scarlet runners, a type of pole bean. And you normally grow them upwards and up. Well, these are being trained onto this frame here to go horizontally. I'm trying them for someone to see how they perform. And the idea is it curbs what's called their apical dominance, which is meant to make them fruit, or in this case pod, even more. Well, they're absolutely loaded with beans now, loads of them dangling off here. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how many I get off here. These beautiful Savoy cabbages I planted about a month ago are really beginning to bulk out now. I absolutely love bulb or Florence fennel, but these guys here have repeatedly been pulled out by the birds and kind of left on the surface. So I've had to replant them on numerous occasions and then cover them with this mesh here. But finally they're beginning to establish, now they're covered and protected. As the last of these cabbages come out, I'm going to replace them with another leaf, which is chard. Now, lots of the chard I planted earlier has actually bolted. I guess a combination of the heat and the dryness has made it kind of flower much earlier than it usually would. But I reckon if I plant some now, it's a little bit on the late side, but these will grow a bit before the winter and then tick over the winter and then be away, bosh, in the spring, giving me lots of lovely leaves. And talking of useful leaves, let's check in on our leaf mould pile. Now, I started this almost a year ago, last autumn, and the leaves were kind of way up here. Well, look how much it's slumped down. And I was curious to see how it's getting on, and digging down, well, it's almost completely crumbled away into beautiful earthy smelling kind of compost. I reckon what I'm going to do is empty this out onto beds in the next couple of weeks or so. Look at that, it's gorgeous. And then refill it with fresh leaves ready for next year and keep that cycle going. Autumn and beyond is a time of death and decay for sure, but it's also a time of renewal and I absolutely love it. There's a beauty at this time of year that makes the soul sing, I reckon. I'll catch you next time.